There were 9 orange rounded spikes that were as tall as a person, and they were laid out, evenly spaced, in a square. There was a purple light around them, like a dome, and this dome spread out, and this purple glow spread into the room, but I could see through it. And there was other movement, but I couldn't quite distinguish it so well. And I felt like a vortex, this warmth that I was in. And when that let go, I felt the analgesic euphoria come down me. And I feel so content right now. Recent years have drawn the comparison of the so-called pagan, so-called heathen year cycle and the life cycle. And the ancient cultures did too. In a way, the Bible does. But Feraferia is more on what you would call Celtic culture. And so you have the Ogham-based cycle. And 8 seasonal ceremonies would probably be according to the astronomical, but in Feraferia they pick up particular dates. And I would say the sunset starting that night of what's closest to the solstices, the equinoxes, and the cross quarters is what should be used, because the ancient things did, the monuments and the manuscripts before Christianity seem to agree on that point. The Christians didn't exactly preserve their thing too much. Now, some people are going to look at Frederick Adams' stuff and say this is erotic, and I don't think that's quite the right word, because this is actually didactic art. And so some of the exaggerations, you could say, of the features outside of, the normal or even the common, would be along that lines. It's not like what you see in, the tarot drawings so much, that you have these topless princesses and they're holding their breast and all that sort of stuff. That's not really what we call artistic nudity. And you understand that a lot of those secret organizations were all males, and they tended to be young males, or they had young single males in their ranks. So reaching them through that sort of imagery, kind of made more sense. And I think a lot of what we talk about goddess stuff in the first place kind of comes from that, men drawing pictures in caves and exaggerating things until they say, no human woman could ever live up to these, and then they say goddess. It's like, well, that's not entirely the story. There's other stuff encoded too, and I would think that there's other stuff encoded too. But, since this is just the cover, and I think, it's fair for me to say something about this. So what you establish inside as a continual effect when you go outside, and when you turn your back, you find your reverse as well. And everything's reflecting on, reversing, and repose the holiday between the November one and what Halloween was based on and what Christmas was sort of based on. Repose, I'm not too sure about that one, but I understand where that's coming from and how things work into the 13 moons, you could say, because I guess you would have, if you have 28-day months, you have 1 or 2 days as an extra, right? And is that pine? But the idea of celebrating the cycles of nature as part of a relationship with family and part of a relationship with unseen beings is very, very important.